Gorilla protects a lost puppy from rain. Their emotional bond will make you sob. The air in the sanctuary hung thick and motionless, burdened by the heavy, humid promise of rain that threatened to drown the lush, emerald canopy of the Congolese reserve. Dark, bruising storm clouds swallowed the afternoon sun, casting an eerie twilight glow over the dense undergrowth and painting the shadows in hues of deep violet and charcoal. Below, in the center of a mud-slicked clearing, Kumba, a 400-pound silverback gorilla, sat unnaturally still. His massive, leather-like hands, capable of snapping thick bamboo stalks like fragile, dry twigs, were curled inward against his chest with agonizing, deliberate care. Raindrops the size of glass marbles began to shatter against his broad, silver-flecked back. But the great ape did not seek the dry, welcoming shelter of the rock caves just 50 yards away. Instead, he hunched his gargantuan frame forward, creating a living, breathing fortress of dense muscle and heavy bone. Against his chest, buried deep within the coarse, wet darkness of his fur, a tiny, rhythmic trembling defied the pounding rhythm of the approaching storm. It was a lost puppy, barely the size of a honeydew melon, shivering violently as the temperature plummeted. By all fundamental laws of the wild, a dominant male gorilla should view a strange, trespassing predator, even an infant one, as a dangerous anomaly, a threat to the troop, or a nuisance to be swiftly swatted away into the brush. Yet Kumba's amber eyes, deep pools of ancient, silent wisdom, held nothing but frantic, protective desperation. He was consciously, willfully defying every primal instinct encoded in his evolutionary DNA to shield this fragile, alien life from the unrelenting fury of the sky. As we dive deeper into this extraordinary, heart-wrenching tale of cross-species devotion, we warmly invite you to become part of our storytelling family. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments below, where in the world are you watching this from right now? And what time is it? There, your presence and your voices make these beautiful journeys into the animal kingdom possible. Weeks before the sky broke open and the rains came, the sanctuary had been a place of predictable, sun-drenched peace, vibrating with the natural symphony of the jungle. The air perpetually smelled of crushed wild ginger, rotting sweet figs, and the musky, familiar scent of the gorilla troop baking in the midday heat. Kumba was the undisputed, stoic king of this domain, a majestic creature whose mere exhalation commanded absolute respect from the younger males. Into this pristine, closed world wandered a miracle wrapped in sunset-colored fur, a stray golden retriever mix puppy who had somehow managed to slip beneath the rusted base of the outer perimeter fencing. The keepers had held their breath the morning they found the puppy sleeping soundly near Kumba's favorite foraging station. The visual contrast was staggering, the colossal obsidian mountain of an ape and the fragile golden speck of a dog. But instead of violence, a profound, silent language of the heart emerged between them. Kumba had approached with agonizing slowness, his scarred knuckles pressing softly into the damp earth, his wide nostrils flaring to take in the sweet, milky breath and innocent scent of puppyhood. The puppy, entirely oblivious to the lethal power standing over her, had simply rolled over and thumped her tail against the dirt. A tiny, rhythmic metronome of pure trust. From that sunlit morning onward, an unspoken, inseparable bond anchored their souls. Kumba became the gentle giant, allowing the puppy, whom the bewildered keepers affectionately named Soul, to playfully tug at his leathery ears and sleep deeply nestled in the warm crook of his massive arm. Their days were painted in the warm, golden light of the African afternoon, the rough, callous texture of Kumba's palms contrasting beautifully with the unimaginably soft, downy fluff of Soul's coat. They shared a peaceful, synchronized rhythm of existence, a quiet companionship that felt like a sacred secret shared only between their two spirits, transcending the boundaries of species and language. But the wild is inherently indifferent to the poetry of friendship, and tragedy often arrives riding on the wind of changing seasons. The deterioration of their idyllic world began with an unnatural, stifling heat wave that suffocated the valley, immediately followed by the apocalyptic onset of the seasonal monsoon. As the first torrential downpour hit the canopy with the sound of tearing canvas, a chaotic scramble ensued among the animals. Soul, deeply frightened by a blinding, jagged crack of lightning that struck a nearby mahogany tree, bolted away from the safety of Kumba's side and the indoor enclosures, disappearing into the treacherous, rapidly flooding ravines of the outer habitat. By the time Kumba's frantic searching led him to her, she was trapped beneath a fallen, rotting branch, half submerged in freezing, churning, debris-filled mud. When the sanctuary's rapid response team of keepers and veterinarians finally arrived at the ravine, the scene that greeted them was a vivid nightmare. The heavy, humid air was thick with the metallic tang of fresh blood and the acidic scent of pain that seemed to radiate from the mud pit. Soul was gravely injured, her breathing alarmingly shallow, her beautiful sunset-colored fur matted thick with dark, freezing clay and debris. The keepers, armed with emergency medical kits and driven by desperate intentions, tried to rush forward to intervene. But Kumba, driven by a blinding, primal terror and overwhelming protective grief, barred their path with explosive aggression. He let out a deafening, chest-rattling roar that echoed through the valley, his long canines bared in a terrifying display of sheer dominance. He violently gathered Soul's limp, freezing body into his massive arms, retreating further into the stinging rain and the deep brush. Every single minute that passed ticked away the puppy's rapidly fading chances of survival. The veterinary team watched in absolute, paralyzed horror, their desperation mounting to a fever pitch as the clinical signs worsened from afar. Soul's tiny body temperature was visibly plummeting into fatal hypothermia. Her chest barely moved against the gorilla's dark fur. The keepers pleaded with Kumba, tossing his favorite sweet fruits, calling his name softly, trying desperately to coax him into the dry safety of the medical holding pens. But he remained firmly rooted in the sliding mud, a weeping mountain of muscle, refusing to surrender his broken friend to the humans he suddenly viewed as a lethal threat to her. Safety. The agonizing standoff dragged on for what felt like hours, the relentless rain washing away the hot tears of the deeply frustrated, helpless keepers. It seemed horrifically certain that Kumba's overwhelming protective instinct was going to be the very thing that inadvertently killed the puppy he loved so much. But then, a high-stakes moment of profound, breathtaking clarity pierced through the deafening chaos of the storm. Dr. Aris, the sanctuary's lead primatologist who had known Kumba since he was an infant, stepped forward, deliberately lowering her posture to the ground. She stripped away her bright yellow raincoat to make herself entirely vulnerable, soaking instantly to the bone in the freezing deluge. She didn't shout, she simply wept, speaking to the giant silverback in soft, broken, familiar whispers, locking on to his sorrowful, panicked gaze. In that terrifying fraction of a second, the hidden, deeply emotional truth of the moment was laid completely bare. Kumba wasn't hoarding Sol out of blind territorial aggression or possessiveness. He was fundamentally trapped in a state of paralyzing grief, utterly convinced that if he let her go, the cold would take her, or the keepers would take her away only to let her die. The technical, precise genius of his grip, hiding her completely from the biting wind, pressing her directly against the massive, beating internal furnace of his own chest, was a calculated, desperate, and incredibly intelligent attempt at thermal regulation. He wasn't crushing her. He was actively keeping her alive. Slowly, with agonizing, trembling deliberation, Kumba's fierce expression softened from a mask of rage to one of pleading, insurmountable sorrow. He uncurled his massive right arm just a fraction of an inch, revealing Sol's shivering mud-caked form to the doctor. He looked down at the dying puppy, then slowly up at Dr. Aris, and let out a low, vibrating, mournful whimper, a sound of such profound, articulate despair that it completely shattered the hearts of every human present. He gently nudged Sol forward with his leathery snout, sliding her fragile body a few inches over the mud toward the weeping doctor. He was asking for help. He was consciously surrendering his pride, his wild instincts, and his deep-seated fear to the only creatures he realized were capable of healing the tiny life he held more dear than his own. The physical transfer of the puppy was a fragile, breathless, heart-stopping maneuver. As Dr. Aris gently wrapped the freezing, unresponsive puppy in thick foil thermal blankets, Kumba hovered mere inches away, his massive, scarred index finger gently tracing the outline of Sol's wet head one last, lingering time before respectfully stepping back into the shadows of the rain. The medical team rushed the puppy to the clinic and worked frantically through the long, dark night, battling the brutal, suffocating grip of shock and deep hypothermia. Meticulously cleaning the lacerations on her legs and pumping warm, life-saving IV fluids into Sol's tiny, collapsed veins. For 2 absolutely agonizing days, Kumba utterly refused to eat or sleep, sitting vigil by the reinforced glass window of the medical bay. His heavy breath constantly fogged the cold pain as his amber eyes watched the steady, blinking green line of the heart monitor inside. When the third morning finally broke with clear, sun-washed blue skies, the highly anticipated moment of physical reconnection arrived. The heavy metal sanctuary doors slid open, and a groggy, heavily bandaged, but miraculously vibrant and warm Sol trotted out onto the damp, glistening grass of the enclosure. Kumba let out a soft, rhythmic, coughing grumble of absolute disbelief. He immediately dropped to his hands and knees, making his colossal frame as small and unthreatening as physically possible. Sol broke into a joyful, clumsy run, throwing her tiny golden body directly against his massive, silver-haired chest. As Kumba's immense, powerful arms closed around her frail body, the emotional transformation was instantaneous and palpable. You could visibly see the dramatic release of tension in the silverback's broad shoulders, a literal, physical melting away of the profound, crushing agony he had carried for days. He pressed his broad face deeply into her clean, dry fur, inhaling long and deep, actively replacing the traumatic memory of the acidic scent of pain with the comforting, dusty, sun-baked warmth of her healing coat. As they lay together in the quiet warmth of the morning sun, a mesmerizing, almost magical phenomenon occurred, their breathing perfectly synchronized. The deep, rumbling, oceanic bellows of the great ape and the quick, fluttering, delicate breaths of the puppy seamlessly aligned into a single, unified rhythm, creating a perfect, silent symphony of two deeply healed souls finding home in one another once again. This breathtaking, world-shifting encounter forces every single one of us to look far past the rigid boundaries of biology and reconsider everything we thought we knew about. The emotional capacity of the natural world. It begs the profound echoing question, what exactly is the true nature of animal intelligence? For so long, traditional science has attempted to quantify animal behavior solely through the cold, rigid, unfeeling lens of basic instinct, territorial drives, and survival mechanics. But the undeniable bond between Kumba and Soul Boldly teaches us that there is a powerful sixth sense of love that completely transcends evolutionary programming. Empathy is not a uniquely human trait, nor is it strictly bound by the superficial limitations of species, physical size, or genetic origin. The profound ability to deeply recognize suffering in another living being, to feel the desperate, self-sacrificing urge to comfort, to relentlessly protect, and to deeply mourn, these are the universal, undeniable languages of the heart. The 400-pound silverback gorilla and the tiny, stray golden retriever puppy stand forever as a living, breathing testament to the undeniable fact that pure compassion is the fundamental architecture of all conscious life. It is a brilliant, shining bridge built of pure emotion that possesses the power to cross even the widest, most seemingly impassable divides of the animal kingdom. Their incredible story remains permanently etched into the very soul and soil of the sanctuary, serving as a beautiful, enduring reminder that even in the midst of the fiercest, darkest storms of life, the most unexpected, unconventional love can provide the ultimate shelter. We are left profoundly humbled and forever changed by the raw, unedited beauty of their synchronized hearts beating as one. If this incredible journey of survival and devotion moved you as deeply as it moved us, please help us share their inspiring story with the rest of the world. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more breathtaking, emotional documentaries from the wild, and share this video with someone who truly needs a beautiful reminder of the good in the world today. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever personally witnessed a moment of undeniable, almost magical intuition or cross-species empathy from an animal in your own life? Tell us your unique story in the comments below, and until next time, keep your heart wide open to the endless wonders of the wild.